Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Cassie. Today I have the Arteza. This is the half pans, metal box, reusable paint. This is the metallic watercolor. So it comes with 24. I obviously have not opened it yet. Max is quite interested as well, aren't you, buddy? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and open it up and we'll just take a quick look at it. Obviously I'm going to swatch it, but let's just take a look at how this comes. So already I just like the size of it. I feel like it's adorable. And it comes with a water brush. And yeah, ooh. So these are the half pans. A lot of great colors on the back. I like how they're all on there. Ooh, and I like the pan. So that is nice. Check out the pan. Look at that, it already has a swatch chart. Oh my goodness, I love that. Now, I think this is great. I'm obviously going to use it. I will probably swatch it onto some paper that I enjoy using as well, but this is incredible. Like, I feel like that is awesome. And then each of the little half pans are, oh, it's like oh, they're like a clear pan too. Oh, I like that. So you can see the color from the side as well. So I'll find a way to get the color put on there because it has the color number and the name on there as well. Let me close this up so you can, and I'll pull in the other half pans that I have by Arteza. So this is the set of 36 regular colors that I have. So if you have this, this is how it compares in size. And then you can see, yeah, those half pans, they're about the same, but your water brush will fit right in there. Let's see if the water brush will fit in here. I would say that the water brush that comes with this is probably not going, no, that's not going to fit in there. So you could probably have just a regular paintbrush, but your water brush isn't going to fit inside there. So that is something to think about. But I'm going to go swatch these and then we'll come back and maybe make a card or so. So, all right, we'll be back. So I have most of them already swatched and I have them mostly ready to go. I did want to show you one of them, just how to do it, or at least how I did it. Now each of these, like I said, are clear and they kind of come in this, you know, you can peel this back and you can pull out your pan if you need to. But I went ahead and I put whatever the color was at the very bottom, and I'll show you how I did that. Now, if you're one of those really messy watercolorists who gets water everywhere, this may not be the method for you. You may want to use like a Sharpie or something on there, but I'm not usually that messy. So this is how I did it. It peels off rather easily, so I just peeled it off. And then I just placed the color and the number sort of on the back and pressed that down. And then I trimmed off the excess. Now it's not perfect, but I don't care. It doesn't have to be. It's just the bottom. That way I know what color it is. If for some reason I need to know what the colors are, or if Arteza ever does like a, you know, we can replenish those or something. They sell them individually. So that's basically all I did, is stuck that on the back and then you put it back in there. These move around rather freely and you know, so they're not in there real tight. You could make them tighter. I'm going to show you how I swatched. So I swatched all of these on the white and on the black, and I noticed that they have, you know, two different ones. I imagine this could be used for however you wanted it to, but I used this bottom one for the how it says to do it on the back, which is probably what I should have done up here, but I did it on the bottom. So in the instructions on here it says begin by applying a generous amount of watercolor paint to the upper left hand corner of each color chart. Wash the brush, wet the right hand corner with water. Remove the excess water from the brush by pressing it out or shaking it. And then in the middle of each color chart, connect the damp watercolor paint with the water that you have applied to the opposite corner. This will create a smooth light to dark effect. I sort of did that here at the bottom, but I'll show you what I did here in just a second. So I swatched them out like so, just putting a little bit of water in there, and then I'm just gonna put the color on. and then I'll set that off to the side to dry. But I love how different they look on the black as they do on the white. So here we go. I'll just add this color the way I did all of them. And now I'll show you, we'll zoom in, how I did this bottom portion. So I did do very concentrated, just kind of up here in the corner. And then I am going to wipe off my brush a little bit and then just bring it down. That's all I'm doing, which is basically what I do when I watercolor or do any of my color charts anyway. So if you want to intensify that color and then just kind of bring it down, you can do that. And that's basically what I did for all of the colors in these. Not exactly the way they showed how to do it, but I think that works just fine. Okay, so I do, like I said, I really like how they are so different. Like, look at this iridescent pink. It looks almost like a white on the white, but then if you look at it on the black, you will see that it is very much an iridescent pink. So it's neat. I like how these can go. So we're going to do some painting here in a bit. I'll stamp out some images and then we're going to paint on some white and some black. And then we'll talk about them in a bit. Okay, so let's get to some painting. Right now what I'm doing is just putting a little drop of water. I usually keep water in an eyedropper on my desk. Just putting a little drop of water in each of those just to activate those colors a little bit. I did stamp out several flowers from the Simon Says Stamp Delicate Flowers stamp set. I stamped those in a clear embossing powder, or in a clear embossing ink, and then covered that with the Brutus Monroe Rainbow Sparkle embossing powder. So it is basically like a clear embossing powder, but you'll see there's a lot of specks in there, and those are just little specks of glitter. And I did that on some white Expert Arteza watercolor paper. And so this is what I would typically color on anyway, or watercolor on. And then I also did it on some black just cardstock that I had. This was a Brutus Monroe Raven cardstock, so it's not like a watercolor paper. The black one isn't, that you'll see, but this one is watercolor paper. I am showing you my painting in real time so that you have an idea of what exactly I'm doing and how long it takes to do it. And just doing some painting. The paintbrush that I am using, I'll talk about it later, but it is a number 2 silver black velvet watercolor brush. I did not use the brush that came in this set simply because I didn't feel like I was getting a lot of control and I had a lot of water coming out. What I did is I started off just using a flat wash of color, and now I am going to come in with my darkest shade. This particular flower on this white cardstock, or this white watercolor paper, I'm using 3 shades of colors. On the black I use 2, but on this one in particular I am using 3 shades. So I'm coming in with now my darkest shade, and you can see I'm kind of just pouncing some of that color all along where I think the shadowing and shading might be. And now I'm going to come in with the mid-tone. So I'm just kind of swirling it around. If you notice, because this is a metallic watercolor, as that water settles in there, the mica or whatever is inside that, the pigments, settles a little bit. So I kind of swish my paintbrush around to get that going again and get the color all swirled together. And I know it's kind of looking like a little bit of a hot mess right now. That's typically how my watercolor goes. The more I work it, eventually it all comes together, but in the beginning things don't always look that great. So now I'm going to come in with my lightest color again and just kind of work that color out, kind of making sure that I don't have any harsh lines. And I'm wiping off my watercolor brush in between, just in a clean water dish that I have. And then I'm just working that color, like I said, trying to get rid of those harsh lines. And I'm really enjoying how this is coming along. As you see, I did paint the other flowers, and I did the exact same process with those. I just wanted to show you one of these that I did and show you how easily it came together and how beautifully these colors mix. And then I'm going to just use a little bit of that black on the center part. But this is where swatches come in so super handy, because obviously what I'm seeing in my palette isn't necessarily what I'm going to see on my cardstock. And it'll definitely be the same when it comes to the black cardstock that I end up using. So once I'm happy with all of that, I'm just going to let that kind of dry. And then I'm going to move on to the leaf. I'm using 2 colors for my leaves. I didn't write down the colors for you, but I mean, there's only so many colors in this palette, so I think you could figure that out.
So I'm putting down my light wash of my lightest green, and then I'm going to come in with a darker green at the bottom. And it's actually almost like a teal that I bring in, but I love how they blend together. And by doing this, because you're using a wet medium, those colors will sort of blend a little bit together on their own. You could probably skip putting down the wash at first, but remember, when you are painting with watercolor, you do work in layers. So you're going to have your first layer down by putting that second color, the darker color, on top of that, and then blending it out a little bit more with your lightest color. You end up, getting a different look than if I were to just put down that darker green and then come in with the lighter green. But you do what you like best. You might like doing it the other way. So here I am coming in with that lighter shade and just kind of pouncing that color out a little bit, getting it to blend even more. And then we're going to go on, after we're done with this, to our black cardstock. I have this completely sped up. This is about 2 times what I would normally watercolor, and you just saw that. And it definitely is different. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is just a cardstock. This is not a watercolor paper, and so in this process you don't want to use a ton of water, which is actually why the metallics work so nicely with these, because there's just a lot of pigment and a lot of color going on anyway. So you can get away with coloring on a black cardstock as long as you're not using a lot of color and you're not working the paper too much, because you will get some warping, and if you work the paper too much you will get some pilling, which basically means that the fibers are separating, and you don't want that. Now I'm coming in with more of a copper color because I wanted this to be more of a peachy type flower like the other two that you'll see there on the screen, and I'm just pouncing that color in, and just like I did before, I'm putting that color all along those edges where I think the shadowing and the shading might be, continually wiping my paintbrush off as I need to and bringing in more color as I need to as well. But, and this is just one of those where I almost, I think it depends on what it is you're painting, but it gives you such a different look on the black as compared to the white watercolor. And they're both so pretty. And obviously some of these colors are specifically meant to go onto a dark cardstock because they don't even show up on the white cardstock. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And then when I'm happy with how I've got that all, shaded and shadowed out, we'll move on and we'll do the inside of our flower as well. And that one I'm just going to do a gold paint is what I'm going to do. But I'm just going to work, before I get to that, just keep working those petals until I'm happy with how those look. So here we have the gold that we're bringing in. And I think that's just a nice touch on that black cardstock. And then we'll do the same thing with our leaves that we did before, just using 2 different kinds of greens. There's technically about 4 greens in this palette, which is pretty nice. And there's a good amount of pinks and purples and decent amount of blues, about I guess 3 blues. And so I'm happy with the color combinations and the color choices. I mean, I always like more, I won't lie. But for the price of this palette and the amount of paint that you get in there, I feel like it's a good buy. And I'm really happy with how they're worked in here. And then I'll show you here up close how they look. There is so much shine and shimmer in these. They are just so gorgeous and so different that I cannot wait to make a card with these.
Okay, so now I am back. I have made a couple of cards with those that I have colored, and I have to say I really enjoy these paints. So I went ahead and put the ones that I colored on the white just on some white cardstock. I did a wash of some of the, I think it was the sky blue, and it was a very light wash, and then I just did some splatters of the black. And then on the black one I actually did this plum purple as my background, so a very light wash of that, and then I splattered it with the diamond white is what I did. And so love how these turned out, both so very different, but just both so pretty. I did use some Alabaster Sparkle embossing powder on my sentiment here, just to make it stand out a little bit, and then I stamped this one with some VersaFine Clair and then put the ultrafine Rainbow Sparkle embossing powder over the top of it. I did not, as you saw, I did not use the water brush that came with it. I just felt like I couldn't get enough control, but I did use the one you saw, which was the number 4 silver black velvet brush, and then for my wash on the back I used this flat 1/2 inch. So I did that. But yeah, would I recommend these paints? Absolutely. I think they're a lot of fun. They're beautiful. I don't have really a whole lot of other metallics like in this array of colors, so you know, I can't really compare it to a bunch of other paints. But if you are in the market for some metallic paints, I feel like these Arteza ones are really great for the $1, and I think they'll go a long way. And again, a lot of fun. So I'll have everything that I use linked in the description box down below if you're interested in checking any of that out. I will have a coupon code as well for 10% off, so go ahead and check that out, if, like I said, and that's for anything in the Arteza store. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye everybody.